interview with Speaker Creedle and members of our chamber, members of Tax Watch, and members of the James Madison Institute, along with members of the Florida House and the Florida Senate. We stand before you today because there is an issue that we believe is of the utmost importance and significantly impacts Florida, our children and grandchildren, and ultimately the health and the strength of our economy. It is the level of federal debt and the spending that is going on in Congress. Some may ask, why would Florida, with grappling with our own economic challenges, be talking about federal spending? Here's the reason. Unless something is done with Washington's irresponsible fiscal behavior, Florida's economy will drown in debt. Just as many states are constitutionally mandated to produce a fiscally responsible budget, the federal government has an obligation to do so as well. The reality is this: if Washington's behavior does not change, reduce debt, significantly curb spending, our children and our grandchildren's opportunity for success will be mired in this pool of federal debt. The Florida Legislature is proposing this session a three-pronged approach for action to restore fiscal discipline. First, and frankly, I know that the Speaker and I share this as the preferred route, is for Congress to send the states a balanced budget amendment for ratification. This is not a radical idea. In 1995, the U.S. Congress came within one vote of sending to the states a balanced budget amendment to be ratified by the states. To this end, we are asking every member of Florida's congressional delegation to sign a pledge committing to pass a balanced budget amendment. Today, Speaker Creedle and I are each filing and asking our House and Senate colleagues to join us by working to pass a joint resolution that calls on Congress to convene an amendments convention for the sole and specific purpose of proposing an amendment to the United States Constitution to require a balanced federal budget and limit the federal government's ability to dictate state spending. To achieve such a convention would take 2/3 of the states making such an application. That would be 34 states. Today, 19 states have filed such an application. We would like Florida to be number 20. Only Congress and the states have the constitutional authority to initiate this action. So while we will call upon Congress to act, we note Vice President Biden's recent comments. Washington is broken, so we will act. We are also filing an advisory referendum that will allow every Floridian to directly participate by voting on this issue, to send their own message to Congress on what is arguably the most important issue of this day. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue alone. Both share in the blame. Today is about ensuring that our children and grandchildren are not saddled with federal debt of enormous proportions. So we are also writing today to every governor, every Senate president, and every House Speaker in the Union to either ask them to join Florida or to let them know that Florida will be standing by them. I am filing this resolution today because as Senate President, I believe it is my responsibility to encourage debate and discussion on issues that I believe to be of vital importance to Florida. Some may say this is bold or even risky. I submit that the American people have reached a breaking point. If not now, the time for boldness, when? I cannot stand by and watch as our economy is sold to foreign countries. I will not be silent as we become one of the world's most indebted industrial democracies. I cannot pretend that it is okay that Florida's future generations will be burdened by federal debt which they did not consent to. And I will not remain silent and thereby tell our children and our grandchildren that their economic security was not worth fighting for. History has shown that when the states unite on an issue, Congress is compelled to act. I hope our actions will send a message to Congress, and they will return fiscal responsibility and economic integrity to the process.
Thank you, President Atwater. Part of my reason for being here today is to stand side by side with my partner in this legislative process. And I want to thank Senate President Atwater for bringing this forward and the need to balance the budget without raising taxes. This is something that has been an effort and a focus not only in the Florida House but in the Florida Senate and from the state government as well. But you know what? I could stand up here and say that all those things are important, but the most important part is I'm not just saying them, and that President Atwater is not just saying them, but the people in our country are saying that as well. Many of you may have watched a series of morning news events on CNN, Is Government Broken? And that series actually did report that the majority of Americans think the federal government is so big and so expensive that it cannot do its job. And to restore the public confidence, the first thing the federal government needs to do, in the opinion of the American people, and in my opinion, is to get its fiscal house in order. That means balancing the federal budget, just as we have to do every year that we come into the legislative process. The President and the Congress should balance the budget, and if they fail to do so, then we need to take further action.
I am Bob McClure, President of the James Madison Institute, a nonpartisan public policy organization here in Florida that focuses on limited government and personal responsibility. And I would like to thank President Atwater and Speaker Creedle for their leadership on this issue, because it is incredibly important. The current national debt, as many have referenced, is quickly closing in on $12.4 trillion, and federal projections for the next decade anticipate $45.8 trillion of spending, but much less than that in revenue. If these projections are accurate, this would increase our national debt by roughly 70% in only 10 years. Worse, as we all know, if rampant deficit spending were to rekindle inflation at 1970s levels, it could raise interest rates to double digits again. And then these interest payments on the national debt could easily emerge as the largest single item in the federal budget. This is an extremely important issue. Chronic federal budget deficits and the national debt's explosive growth have now constituted a problem so serious that state governments can no longer stand idly by. So I thank President Atwater, Speaker Creedle for their actions and for their efforts, and the James Madison Institute stands ready to help. Thank you.